Hi, this is Kirby from SkullClampMTG. Today I'm opening a set booster box of March of the Machines, commonly referred to as MOM, for Retrofix Games in Missoula, Montana. So this is not just a good video, but good for me. I am Pro Tour bound after a 48th finish at Regional Championship San Diego. So this is a set I'm going to have to draft probably 6 rounds of. So going into this set and talking about it for limited is probably, and standard, probably pretty helpful for me. Like our normal videos, I am going to go over more than just that. I am going to talk about Modern, Legacy, and a little bit of Commander. So we're going to go over what these cards are good in as we open them. Pretty exciting. We got 24 packs of set boosters here, and we're going to dig on in. At the standard event in RC San Diego, I ended up playing Green-White Toxic to a 10-4 finish. And I think there's some new cards in here I'll talk about as we open them that are going to be pretty helpful. There's a bunch of these flip cards in here because there's a bunch of double-sided cards in this set again. Mirror Shield Hoplite. These are set boosters, so they have quite a bit of rares and uncommons in them. But that gives us a lot more good cards to talk about as we go through. Probably the best card in this limited is this card, Sunfall. So that was a cool one to open first. This is a 5-mana board wipe, but it exiles all creatures. And then you incubate X, where X is the number of creatures exiled this way. Incubate makes an artifact token that has X +1/+1 counters on it. And for 2 mana, you transform it into a creature. The nice thing is, if that thing sits on the board for a turn, whenever you flip it, which you can do at instant speed, it is able to attack as long as the token didn't come into play this turn. So they changed the transform rules. It can attack right away after it transforms. And then this set, these have creatures that aren't legal in standard, but they're legal in limited, from older sets with different frames from whatever world they came from. So all the companions are in here. We actually have a cool one in here, a Karuga. And then we got a Wrath, Weverlight, Stalwart. Jeez, that word screwed me up on this frame. So there's uncommons and rares of legendary creatures reprinted into this set. And then we have something cool here, which we have 2 of. We have Battles. So this is a new card type. These come into play. They all have an effect, like Invasion of this one. When it enters the battlefield, 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 and gain Vigilance and Haste until end turn. They're almost like Planeswalkers. They have a certain amount of counters on them in this bottom corner. And then when you play it, you pick, if it's multiplayer, you pick an opponent to protect it. And then you actually attack it down. And after it goes down to 0, it flips over. Like this one flips into a sorcery. Makes 2 3/2s. Some of them flip into creatures. This one's an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. But they all have an effect on the backside that's valuable to kind of incentivize you to attack them. I don't know how much I love them in constructed formats. Like you're not doing damage to the player anymore. You're doing damage to those, but they are interesting. And then there's a whole bunch of creatures with Phyrexian mana to flip here, and they turn into something better on the backside. But they're all pretty evenly costed for the front side. There's also like a equipment sub-theme in this. There's a lot of good equipment in here. And this one actually has Convoke. So there's Convoke ones. There's ones that attach right away when they come into play. But they did that as a little bonus in the set. And then, of course, we got full art lands again. We'll put those aside with the art cards. But overall, pretty cool set on mechanics. There's a whole +1/+1 counter setup in here that's really relevant. The mechanics in this probably go into other formats pretty easily just because of how interesting they are and how much they overlap with things that already existed. We got a 1-mana instant version of an older effect, which was sacrifice a creature. This one's 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, which is pretty darn relevant. We got another Glissa. We now have, I think, 4 Glissas exist. This one's pretty cool. At the beginning of combat on your turn, incubate 2 twice, so you make 2 tokens that flip into 2/2s. Transform all incubator tokens you control. And Phyrexians you control gain first strike and death touch till end turn. I think that one's pretty cool effect. We got a knight. There's actually a knight tribal setup in here. And then there's a whole bunch of these invasions, which are the battle cards, that have that are 2 mana, which makes them infinitely more playable than like 5-6 mana ones in constructed formats. This one makes a treasure token, discard a card, draw a card. Flips into a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, discard a card. If you do, search your library for a land or battle, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So in Limited, you get a whole bunch of battles. That lets you cycle them up a bunch. And then like Convoke. So there's a lot of things that make little tokens in this. There's a whole little sub-theme to that. It makes the Convoke cards really good. So this is a 4/4 flying haste for 7, but you can play it for as little as red with 5 creatures tapping for it. If you have a whole bunch of 1/1 tokens, it's probably the best way to use something like that. This one's pretty cool. So actually I'm going to show these two together. We'll start with Dredge Cycler. These are both common, so you can really get this going in draft. This one is sacrifice an artifact or creature. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This one is when it dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this is almost like a mini sack that like block with this guy, sack him, drain your opponent for 3. You pick up like 4 of each of these in the draft, and you probably have a pretty good mono black deck to get your opponents with. I have not yet gotten to draft the mono black deck. It's interesting because for pre-release, because of all those dual-colored reprinted creatures, you're kind of like pushed into making 3-color decks. But in the draft, 1 and 2 colors are very good in this format. Another Convoke card, +2/+2, flying. This one's a cool one. Invasion of Ixalan. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a permanent from them, put it in your hand, rest on the bottom in a random order. It's 4, flips into Trample. Whenever you cast a spell, he gains Indestructible until end of turn. Kind of a cool creature there. Our extra creature in this one is Fire Song and Sunspeaker. This one's kind of cool. Red instant sorceries you control have lifelink. So if you are opening spells that do damage in red or white, there's a few of those. This will really get them. And we got a commander card. Enchant Planeswalker. Enchant Planeswalker has +1, look at top 4 cards of your library, reveal a creature or land from among them, put it into your hand, rest on the bottom in a random order. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Enchanted Planeswalker. There's a whole cycle of these Enchant Planeswalker ones that give them extra abilities, and I thought that was pretty cool. Some more battles. I don't know how much I like either of these. These are both just kind of value-centric. Tap a creature, it stays tapped, gets a stun counter. But they all flip into creatures, which is pretty cool. And then this set covers every plane for the invasion, for Phyrexia going to each one. So there's creature types from every plane. Like we got Samurais from Kamigawa back. This is a good uncommon in Limited also. Distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among up to 4 target creatures you control. So you can put them all in one, or you can spread them out. Creatures you control gain Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. This is a way to kill people through a blocked board state. And then we got some commons. This is the common I want to talk about. And then we got reprints of the lands that enter tapped and gain you a life too. Important Tracker is a 2-mana 1/1. He has the ability of untap target land, so he can just ramp you. But it's also choose target battle and put a counter on it or remove a counter from it. So you can remove them from yours to make them easier to get into, or you can put them on them to almost like semi-block 1 damage. Kind of a cool effect. Yeah, I think everyone in the Magic community is unsure if the battles are very good in constructed formats or if they are unplayable, but at least in Limited, they are very good. We got a list card. It's not a good one, though. 4 mana 2/2 with Regenerate. It is a Phyrexian, though. It was errated to be a Phyrexian skeleton, so that is kind of cool, but list card regardless. And then here's a Knight. We have a lot of cool Knights in this one. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library, reveal up to 2 creatures with mana value X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked Knight Errant. Put the reveal cards in your hand, then shuffle. So you can look at, up to 4 cards with this. Even more than that, really. I guess you could look at 5. And pick 2 creatures for that mana value and put them in your hand. or look at 6, but up to mana value total 5. Kind of a cool way to get some card advantage in this. Ooh, so the Praetors were all reprinted as the original ones as these altered frame guys. And we got a Vorinclex on this. That's one of the mythic ones, which is pretty cool. We got some more battles. Flip guys. Change the Equation is probably a constructed playable card. This one has counter target spell with mana value 2 or less. That's okay. Like, it trades even on that. But if the spell's red or green, counter it with 6 or less. So in Modern, people are using this to counter Furies and Primeval Titans. Actually a really sought after uncommon in this set. And then here's another one that's very good in Limited. I think this may have constructed play somewhere, but it is sorcery, so a little worse. But remove up to 5 counters from target permanent and draw a card. This basically just flips a battle in Limited. Pretty cool effect. Got a haste guy. And this is another one I wanted to talk about. This is, I mean, they've printed 1,000 versions of this, but it's in Standard now. 1 red sorcery, create 2 1/1 blue elemental creature tokens. Next pack. So we can, in that extra creature spot, open Ragavan, which is crazy. That was a very good reprint and needed. And then, like, there are some good Planeswalkers and Chase cards in this also. There's some weird foils that are Halo foils that would be really cool to pull some of. Kraken token. One of the battles makes those. Fairy Rogue. Hey, Arona. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap it. Has tap, draw a card, then discard a card. 5 mana, transform. And it's a 5/5 trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Rona, that source's control exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you can put it on the battlefield under control. Otherwise, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. That makes you really not want to block this. And then, if you're building like black-green sacrifice in Limited, this one's amazing. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Well, a lot of those cards make you gain life. Sacrifice another creature. Dina gets +X/+0 till end turn, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. That's a pretty cool one. That's an uncommon, though. Got another one of those battles. Haste guy. 3 mana, 2/3 haste. Okay. 3 mana, white Phyrexian. Flips into a 3/4 flying haste. Kind of a cool one on that. And then here's another constructed playable one, I think. Well, it's also good and Limited. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters we put on a permanent you control, put that many +1/+1 counters +1 instead. And that has add X mana of any color, where X is its power. So this one, very good. There's like Hardened Scales, Ozolith decks where this probably just fits in there. But this is something, as you open these, hold on to these. That may be a $5 card in a couple years. It's just very high power level. And Blue-White has a very good night theme, along with just amazing flyers, which is like the common thing for Blue-White. But that is a definite deck in this format. If you're into Limited, this has been a very good draft set so far. I think all these extra creatures make it very, very playable. There's a lot of times where I'm a little unsure if a set is good or not, but having extra like these in packs makes it very fun. We got 2 Valducks in this. This one is cool, though, if you're picking up a bunch of equipment in there, because he makes extra 3/1s every turn. And a lot of these equipment auto-attach to a creature when they come into play. So Valduck plus some of those makes for a really interesting game of just flood the board with 3/1s with trample and haste, attack every turn. And then if you're on the sacrifice deck where you have things that care when you sacrifice stuff, they sacrifice at end of turn, they don't exile, so that is pretty cool. We got Doomscar Warrior, has backup 1, so he puts a +1 counter on anything, and when he puts a +1 counter on another creature, they gain his below abilities, which would be Trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So the Trample just makes sure this gets through and it does some good effects. This is one of my favorite arts from there. We got a Gigantha the Wellspring. Very played companion. Not played because it has some crazy synergies, but because it just fits so easily into decks. And it's a 5 mana 5/5 that makes a bunch of mana. Not a bad one to have your hands on. And a 4th rare in this pack, we got Liliana's Talent. This is another one of those enchant planeswalker ones. It gives it -8 Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. And whenever a creature deals damage to Enchanted Planeswalker, destroy that creature. That is a cool effect. Here's the blue-green 2-drop Invasion. Invasion of Pyrulia. I'm going with it. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to call it Pyrulia. When it enters the battlefield, scry 3, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land or double-faced card, draw a card. Kind of lock in drawing off of this. Flips into a 4/4 with Trample and Ward 2. Other transform permanents you control have Trample and Ward 2. Pretty cool. Let's see. Common, random uncommons. Here's the other +1/+1 counter one. Trample. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on another permanent you control, if it's the first time they were put on it this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Botanical Brawler. Pretty cool. Random commons. Next pack. Well, we got a Ragavan art card I can see. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe there's a Ragavan in this one. Let's put that over there. Another list card. Another not very good list card. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each basic land among basic lands you control. If this was like 1 and just tap, maybe it'd be playable with all the Triomes and Shocklands in Modern, but not so good at 4 mana and 3 to tap to give it +5/+5. Gone. We'll put it in the rare pile because it's a list card, though. Invasion of Xerex. This one's cool. This one's actually pretty good and limited. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. So you target your opponent's creature with this, get the blocker out of the way, attack it immediately, flips into a Flying Angel Knight. Power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. With all the token stuff in this format, this one is not hard to flip, and it's not hard to just have on the battlefield as a 6/6. Even if they kill everything but this, it's still a 1/1 flyer. It has a lot of abilities, or a lot of ability to just kill your opponent as you cast creatures. Also, the art's really cool. It looks cool in foil. Flip that back. And our rare of the pack, Hoarding Broodlord. It has Convoke, so it's 5 black, but you can Convoke it down. And then when it enters the battlefield, you Demonic Tutor. But you exile the card and you can cast it. And then spells you cast from exile have Convoke. So you go get your other big threat, you can Convoke that into play also. Pretty cool. Ignorunize was our specialty one. Seer Stolen Light. This one's cool. Menace. Whenever one or more artifacts or creature you control put in the graveyard from the battlefield, you get to surveil 1, so you get to dig up some good cards. A second Invasion of Xerex in here. Some commons. I like this one a lot. When it attacks, up to 1 target attacking creature control gets +2/+0 and trample. Giving your creatures trample in this format to hit those battles or other players is pretty relevant. And then you return to your hand at the end of combat. If you're building your deck right with this, you can actually use it as a benefit for creatures that enter the battlefield triggers. Here is another one for those sacrifice decks I was talking about. Sacrifice a creature or artifact, put a +1 counter on him, and draw a card. Activate only as sorcery. Lets you like clear out some of those tokens to make a bigger guy, draw cards, and kill your opponent. See some commons that we're not going to talk about. Sunder the Gateway is at least interesting enough to mention at common. Destroy target non-token artifact or enchantment opponent controls. There's a bunch of those in this format, not bad. Incubate 2, so you make the artifact token with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And then Incubate 2, transform an incubator token you control. So if you have like one with 5 on it, you can just auto flip it with this, and then make another 2/2. Kind of cool. 3 more packs left for this stack. We got 3 of these. Glad you guys are sticking around. We got the new Ren token, or art card here. And, oh, we got a Mythic for our list card. Mechanized Production. Enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of it. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. That's actually really cool. Probably really good in Commander. Got a foil Preening Champion. This one's a cool one. It's a 2/2 flyer for 3. Not the worst, but it makes a 1/1 blue-red elemental creature token when it enters. And we got the XX Siege, or the X green Siege. Invasion of Ikoria enters battlefield. Search your library under a graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. That's amazing. I mean, that's just, it's almost like a sorcery speed Core to Calling. Just can't get a human. Flips into, so it has 6, that's a lot. Flips into a 8/8 reach. For each non-human creature you control, you may have them assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. That is nuts. Timeria, Chosen from Death, never a good sack one. Exile 2 cards from target cards from graveyards. You gain 1 life for each creature card exiled this way. Toughness is equal to Devotion to Black. Hard guy to get rid of. We got the white-black one. Lets you sacrifice an artifact or creature. When you do, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls. Seraph, 2/2 flyer for 3. Still decent. Flips into 3/3 flyer. When it attacks, you can sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn. I like that one quite a bit. This Defender Wall's pretty cool too. 1 mana, 1/3, just blocks everything for 2 turns. All the 2/2s. And then when it transforms, exile top card of your library until your next turn. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. That is decent. Let's see. There's a lot of these Phyrexian tribal cards that are like, when it dies, Surveil 1. When it enters the battlefield, Incubate 3. It gives you a lot of abilities for Phyrexians. Here's another one. Phyrexians have Vigilance. It makes an Incubate token. Those tokens, when they flip, are Phyrexian creatures. So they add like an extra benefit. There's like a draftable black-white like Phyrexian tribal deck in here, along with like the draftable white-blue Knights deck. And a Shieldred art card. All right. Get that out of here. Spirit token. Get that out of here. Foil, Convoke, enters battlefield, draw a card, +2/+2 and flying. We got a Mythic, Monastery Mentor. This is a reprint, but it's a pretty cool one. It has Prowess, so whenever you play a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, make a 1/1 white monk creature token with Prowess. So it goes very wide, and it helps you with spells. There's enough Death Touchers in here that this guy's kind of fun. Legendary one, Finn, 1 green, Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. There's potential just to kill people with this, but also it's a 1/3 Death Toucher. It's an amazing blocker. If you're in green already, this is a very draftable card. And I like this battle a lot. Enters battlefield, you gain 4 life and draw a card. For 3 mana, you're taking a turn off to just kind of like almost fog by gaining 4 life on turn 3, but it flips into a Sarah Angel, 4/4 flying Vigilance. Can't complain about that. Corruption. Here's another Phyrexian one. Incubate 5, gain 5 life. Phyrexians you control have reach. A backup creature. What else are we talking about here? Nothing else in that pack. All right, last pack for the first pile. We're a third of the way into it. Oh, we got a signed one. Which art is this? This is Invasion of Arcovius. And from Burmac. Kind of cool. Don't open a ton of those. Those are actually kind of on the rare side. Flip card. Vengeful Earth. Target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with haste in addition to its other types until end of turn. Must be blocked this turn. Good way to get rid of your opponent's board. Ooh, all right. Tali Primal Conqueror. These frames are actually super cool to me. They're like the sigil-looking ones. So this guy's a 7 mana trample. When he enters the battlefield, each player exiles a card from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. That is some value for yourself and your opponent. It's like 7 mana, win the game. Flips into a 11/11 trample indestructible. When he does damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. So this is a one-shot kill a lot of times. That is super cool. Here's another one for the sack deck. It's a reprint, just those weird creature frames. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on him. When it dies, deals damage equal to its power to any target. And I believe this one is a commander reprint, Brutaclad. Creature tokens you control have haste. At the beginning of combat, create a 2/1 Phyrexian Mirror artifact creature token. You may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. So you make some big tokens, make copies of them, pretty good. And Essence of Orthodoxy. 5 mana, 3 white, creature Phyrexian, flying 3/3. When it or another Phyrexian you control enters the battlefield under your control, incubate 2. Lets you go very wide, very fast. Also 3/3 flyer for 5 with extra abilities. Those are just value. This is what I like. When it enters the battlefield, incubate 2. At 5 mana, transform target incubator token. Double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So all those 2/2s become 4/4s with this effect. Norn's Inquisitioner is another good one for that Knights deck. 1 white, 1/1. Makes it incubate 2 token. Whenever a permanent you control transforms into a Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pretty good with all the +1/+1 counter synergies, Knight synergies, and Phyrexian synergies. And we got a foil mountain in that pack. All right, time to start on stack number 2. Opening that Vorinclex was pretty cool. That may be one of the better things we've opened, along with that Sundown. That Sundown probably is just at least standard playable, but it's a pretty good card. Elemental token. Meeting of the Minds, convoke, draw 2 cards. Just tap your board, draw 2 cards. Pretty cool. That's a common, though. 2 red siege, deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So this is almost a board sweep sometimes. If your stuff's bigger, this lets you clear the way to attack. Flip side has ward, pay 2 life. Whenever you cast a spell, it does 2 damage to each opponent. That is a beating. And Eudora, Grave Gardener. Green 4, Treefolk, Druid, 5/5. Not bad, 5 mana, 5/5. That's just draftable by itself, but whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land, so it just kind of ramps you on out. Our commander card is the Knight Commander from the precons. 1 white, blue, black. Whenever it has eminence, so it works from the command zone. Whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, if it's in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Flying, first strike, 4/3. When it deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you're trying to build a Knight Commander, this is the one. At 1 white, black, there's a lot of options. I want to move this card to the back, so I want to talk about that one. I think the rest of these, Stoke the Flames, cool reprint, convoke, 4 damage to anything. 3 mana flyer, 2/2. When it deals combat damage to a player or battle, transform an incubator token you control. Another Phyrexian card, but it's common and I put it in the wrong stack. All right, we're at this one. 1 red, enters the battlefield, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Not bad, right? Flip side, 3 mana tap, discard a card, create 2 1/1 blue-red elemental creature tokens. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. This flip side, amazing. Like, this is actually one of the ones you really want to flip. All those extra lands you draw throughout a game of draft or pre-release, you just start discarding them, making a board, and your board's all at least 2 ones with haste. You're just attacking on in and getting them. Next pack. I don't know what that art card is. We're skipping over it. Token? More elementals. Woohoo. All right. We got Dusk Legion Duelist. Whenever 1 or more +1 counters are put on him, draw a card. It only triggers once a turn. 2 mana, 2/2, Vigilance. Real good in those +1/+1 counter decks. Got a reprint Rona, another Valdek. Invasion of Kylene. This one's kind of cool. 2 target creatures get +2/+0 and gain Vigilance and haste until end turn. May just pump you through to flip a battle or do damage to him. Flip side's a sorcery. Not very many of these, but it creates 2 3/2 red-white warrior creature tokens with whenever this creature and at least one other creature token attack, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So they get in pretty darn quick and do their thing. Never change the equation, render inert, Kami. Good cards to hold on to. I like this one a lot in the limited format. This one is Vigilance Vehicle, 2 mana, 3/2. Crew 1, and then it has tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate only if it's a creature. Kind of cool, just lets you crew to ramp. Or if you're in one of those 3-color decks, it's really good fixing that can attack at different points. Man, this set is a lot of fun to open just because of how many different things there are in it. Art card. Token is Phyrexian Saproling. Cool. Swordsworn Cavalier. Put that one in our commons pile. So this set has a bunch of just 2 creatures from the same plane on 1 card. And this one's Borborygmos and Flip Flip. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card, then you may discard any number of land cards. When you discard 1 or more land cards, this way, it does twice that much damage to target creature. So you discard 2 land cards, 4 damage, kill something. You have a 6/5 now, and then you have the ability to put this back in your deck to do it again for 2 mana. Nice little flip-flip effect. Got a Daxos. Daxos, whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain a life. Kind of a little Soul Sister effect. Invasion. Commons. This is one people were talking about for like those white like creatures stacks decks or Death and Taxes style decks. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-Phyrexian spell each turn, so that limits them a lot. And then non-Phyrexian creatures enter the battlefield tapped. I like that a lot. Halo Hopper's cool. It's just a 3/2 Convoke for 3. Nice way to fill out a deck. Also, just on turn 3, sometimes this is a free creature. Depends on what you did with your other turns, but pretty easy one to put into play. And a different art of a foil mountain. Cool. We have a few different effects on different lands, but they're doing good. If you ever want some cool basics, every set now just offers those. Treasure token. Another signed art card. And foil Queed. Human Knight, double strike. Creatures with first strike you control have double strike. Can't go wrong with that. Big old dinosaur. All right, Rampaging Raptor, red 2, 4/4, trample haste. Has 3 mana, gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and whenever he deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls or battle that player protects. So you attack them, use the damage also to hit other things and flip your battles, kill their planeswalkers. Overall, pretty good way to get damage in along with doing your normal plan. And then our reprint creature was Cezanne, Perverter of Truth. Black 3. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. So you're drawing 3 a turn, taking 2 damage. I don't know if that's good or not, to be honest. That's a little hard to figure out in a limited format. I think if you're ahead, that just keeps you ahead. You and your opponent are trading, but you're getting there. But they do get to draw those cards before you, so you better be ready for the long game and be ahead on life. Not have a board where you're getting attacked down if that's your plan. Oh boy, we opened one of the Chase list cards. Not the most expensive, but a pretty cool one. We opened a Umizawa's Jit. I wish those were reprints you could play in limited. That'd be real cool. Got a Pylon. This is a Convoke spell. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Surveil 2. And at instant speed. This is top level rare if you're opening that. Another timer it. The red-blue 2-mana one. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Flips into a vehicle. One of the other weird ones that doesn't flip into a creature. Vehicle with crew 1, flying, when its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Not the easiest one to make work, but there are, with all those incubate tokens, definitely a way to make it happen. And then there's a whole cycle of these, which somehow we ended up with 3 in a row. There's one for each land type. Island cycling, plain cycling, mountain cycling. They're all big, giant, heavily costed creatures. But if you draw them early, it just helps you either find your mana or fix your mana in a multicolored deck. 5/5, haste for 6, mountain cycling. 6 mana, 3/4. When it enters, you exile another creature, though, until it leaves the battlefield. 5/6 for 6. When it attacks, tap 2 other untapped creature tokens, or creatures you control, and it can't be blocked this turn. Good way to kill people. And then Volcanic Spite. We had another card before that did the same thing, but this one's nice to have another one of, and it's instant. 3 damage target creature, planeswalker, or battle. You can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do, draw a card. And I do want to mention that I am doing this with Retrofix Games, which is the page you're probably watching this on. They are located in Missoula, Montana. They have a website, retrofixgames.com, that links to a bunch of board games and other things for sale, content, and their TCG player store. So that is a good place to go check out find your cards you need, or come visit if you're in person in Montana. Really cool flip one here. I actually played this in pre-release. This is sacrificed another artifact or creature. It does damage equal to target opponent or battle, and you gain X life, where X is the sacrifice permanent's mana value. Flips into a 4/4 that, being combat on your turn, return target artifact or creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. If you have a way to sacrifice that before it would get exiled, you can just do this every single turn. Pretty cool. Yargle reprint and Zada reprint. Battle. Some commons, some Phyrexian stuff. 3 mana, 1/3 double striker. This is the guy to put counters on. Or girl, I'm pretty sure it's a lady in the art. But put +1/+1 counters on this. And I like this as just a giant 5 mana 5/4 reach to block. But it has tap, deals 2 damage to target player or battle. So you just block, you hold this up to block flyers on their end step after they didn't attack because they don't want their stuff to die. You do 2 damage to them or a battle. Helps you flip things, locks up the board to kill your opponent with an actual way to get in without attacking if you don't have that type of board. Pretty good effect overall. Token is a monk for Monastery Mentor. And we got a, oh man, how do you pronounce that? Kogla and Yadaro in the alt frame. When it enters the battlefield, choose one, gains trample and haste on the turn. It fights target creature you don't control. 6 mana, 7/7. Discard it. You can destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, and then shuffle it into your library from your graveyard, then draw a card. That's a super cool one. Radha reprint. Herbology Instructor. This one's cool. It's 2 mana, 1/3. Nice blocker. Enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Locks up the board real well. Gains you life. 6 mana and a black Phyrexian flip. Turns into a 3/3. Its backside has target creature and opponent controls get -0, -X until end of turn, where X is its power. So you can put +1/+1 counters on this. When they flip, they stay. And just it flips to kill an opponent's creature and leave you a 3/3. That's pretty good. Phyrexian Elf. Etched Host Doombringer is a cool one. 5 mana, 3/5 common. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. They lose 2 life, you gain 2 life. Choose target battle. If an opponent protects it, remove 3 3 defense counters from it. Otherwise, you get to put 3 on it. That's some good value. My favorite art from the set, although it's not the world's best card, but destroy target creature that has dealt damage this turn. So if your opponent blocks something, your guy doesn't die, you get to do that. And you get to draw a card for 1 mana. It's also instant, so you can do it when you block and do 1 to something. But it is Karn holding up the head of Elishnorn. Kind of cool. Yeah, so by the time this video is live, I will probably be heading to Pro Tour Minneapolis, which is during the Magic Fest. And the first 3 rounds are draft. And there's about 400 players worldwide invited to that, which is pretty cool. So we're going to go do a whole bunch of drafting and then 5 rounds of standard. So I am looking at this set from the lens of how I'm going to draft it and what in the world I'm going to play in standard. Have to figure that out. This is a 4 mana battle. When it enters the battlefield, your opponent discards 2 cards, flips into a 2/2 with 4, and then it has flying. Whenever at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, does 2 damage to them. Kind of a cool little rack effect. Into the Fire. What does 2 damage to each creature, planeswalker in battle, or put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. Kind of a cool wheel. One-sided wheel, but cool. Reprint of Emery as a rare. Gimbal, another rare from the Commander precons. Those are nice to open in packs. You used to only be able to get them on the precons. And then when those were gone, they were gone, and those creatures got a little hard to get a hold of at some point. Or at least find as singles, because people were keeping them sealed, or they were selling them as the whole set, and you really couldn't find those until they were like, oh man, we should jam these in collector and set boosters, which was a great addition. Another flip card, common. Ooh, I actually saw someone during pre-release win the game with this. Target player mills 3 cards, put a land from the graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, gains if this land would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. 10 mana, tap, sacrifice. Search your library for random Praetor cards, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle. I watched someone just 2 mana mill their opponent out with this on a locked board state, which was pretty darn cool. Another Jury. Another one of the flip ones that I said was amazing. This guy's a cool one. We haven't actually seen one of him yet. Let's put him last so we can talk about him, because I think a few of these we'd already discussed. 1 mana, 1/1, lifelink. Seems pretty simple. Not bad to just get your life total up if your opponent's not playing spells for the first couple turns. Exile from your graveyard, incubate 2, activated one as a sorcery. He has an extra effect after he's gone. So he turned from attacker to blocker to making a 2/2 for you. And then Sunblessed Guardian, 2 mana, 2/2, nothing special. But 5 red Phyrexian flip. When he attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each +1/+1 counter on him. Sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. So, you know, he has 1 +1/+1 counter on from a backup. Every combat, you make a tapped and attacking 4/4 of them. So you have just 2 4/4s coming in for not a heavy price. Last pack of the second stack. We're down to 1 stack now. We opened some cool stuff. Still looking for a couple chase cards, but that Jit was pretty awesome. Knight. We got a foil Dina. Invasion of Theros. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for Aura, God, or Demigod. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So this is a tutor that flips into... when it has lifelink and indestructible as long as you control at least 3 other enchantments. And whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Kind of a cool one. It flips into a god, Ifara. Pretty sweet. Renata is a pretty good one in this format. Each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. And, ooh, Giant Draft Bomb. Also, really good 5-color commander. Kenrith, the Returned King, as a reprint. Got some battles. 2 mana, 2/2. This one's cool. Flips, 3 mana. When it transforms or dies, create a 1/1. Lets you go a little wide with some tokens. Really cool with all the Convoke stuff. Target creature has base power and toughness 4/3 until end turn. Draw a card. Kind of fun to do on your 1/1 tokens. Also kind of fun to turn your opponent's like 8/8 into a 4/3 and then be able to block it. Negate reprint and Windscarred Crag. And we are on to the last stack. This is one of the invasions we looked at earlier as an art card. No token. We got a list card, but it is an uncommon. Enter the battlefield, tap blue card, sacrifice, draw 2 cards. And that goes my own. It's a list card. We'll put it in our rare pile just to be safe. And we got a Ren and Realm Breaker. So it makes all your lands. It has like a chromatic lantern effect. All your lands tap for any color of mana. Its plus is put a land you control. Up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature token with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until your next turn. Still a land. -2 is mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards into your hand. -7 is you get emblem with you may play land cards and cast permanent spells from your graveyard. Really like that one. Got a Wrath. Crocodile. Let's see. Seed of Hope. I've played this in Limited. Not sure if it's good. Instant speed, just green. Mill 2 cards. Put a permanent from among the milled cards into your hand. Gain 2 life. If it was anything from your graveyard, I think it'd be a little better. But it has to be, it has to be balanced, of course, as a 1 mana green card. That would probably be too good. This one's cool. Destroy target creature or planeswalker, make a treasure token. 2 black instant. It's right at the cost you want for Limited, for just a way to kill something and get a little extra value out of the fact that you're killing it. Little ramp doesn't hurt. Hey, a rare from the list. Archmage Emirdius. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Pretty cool. Zephyr Singer is one I really like. Flying Vigilance, has Convoke, 2 blue, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it. This is a cool way to take all those little counters and make them flying. Flying is extremely important in Limited as just a way to get around what your opponent's doing and stop their blockers. So effects like that are pretty good at just making it so you win a game when normally, you guys are staring at each other with too many creatures on the board. Something like that. And it is a Siren Pirate, so it doesn't really feed into the Knights or the Phyrexians, but it also is just a very good card. Ooh, we got a foil rare finally. Baral and Kari Zev. First Strike Menace. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you may cast a spell with lesser mana value that shares a card type with it from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, create a Ragavan, a legendary 2/1 Monkey Pirate token. It gains haste until end of turn. That's a cool effect. This pack is chock full of rares. All right. Galta and Marvin's another double one. Trample. Whenever you attack, choose one. Create a tapped and attacking XX green dinosaur creature token with Trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures. Or create X11 vampire creature tokens with lifelinks, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. I'm pretty sure if you resolve that, you win the game. We got a Yorion in the cool new art. That one looks amazing. Love that. And another Planeswalker one. This one has 4 mana, white. Enchant Planeswalker has +1. Create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. And whenever you activate a loyalty ability of Enchanted Planeswalker, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance until end of turn. That is a powerhouse. We haven't opened this one yet. This is the one that I think is the best for maybe Pioneer. When it enters battlefield, target player sacrifices a creature or Planeswalker and loses 1 life. Flips into a 2/1. At the beginning of your end step, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Ashen Reaper if a permanent was put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn. Also has Menace. Gets really big. Let's see. Cut Short. Burning Sun's Fury. Just some nice Convoke cards. Removal. Really pretty planes. Next pack. Yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments everyone's experience with pre-release or draft, because when this comes out, initial draft weekend will be past. And if they thought this format was actually good or not. And then what you think from this format is going to see play in other formats. All right, the new Praetors from the set. They've made new ones of each one that flip. So this one's Vigilance. If a source an opponent controls would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, that source's controller loses 2 life unless they pay 1. And then 1 white, sacrifice 3 other creatures, exile, and then return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. Flip side is 1, incubate 2 5 times, then transform all incubator tokens you control. So it makes 5 2/2s. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain double strike until end of turn. And then destroy all other permanents except for artifacts, lands, and Phyrexians. Exile, and then return to the battlefield flipped again. That is an amazing, amazing card. And it's one of those things where if you flip it, like unless your opponent's just super far ahead, I'm pretty sure you win the game immediately. They would have to be in a very high power level and very far ahead to survive you doing that. Borborygmos and Flip art card. I like that one. Another list card, but it's common. Seagate Oracle. Still playable. Sigiled Knight. Backup 1. Vigilance. Cool. Vordarian Thrill Seeker. Backup 2, so it puts 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. And it gains the following ability until end of turn. Sacrifice this creature, deals damage equal to its power to any target. So you play this on turn 4, put 2 +1/+1 counters on your 3/1. You can attack and then hold up a mana, sacrifice at end of turn, do 5 damage to another creature or player. Or a battle. Any target. We got a Gyruda, another one of the companion reprints. This one only lets you play cards with even mana value. But this was a combo in Legacy of put this into play before they changed the rule with a bunch of clones. And then you would just keep making Gyrudas until you milled your opponent out, past the turn, and they die. Kind of a cool effect. This is nothing else in there we want to talk about. Some commons. Sandstalker, Moloch, 1 green. They've printed a few different green ways to get you in blue-black, and this is another one. It's 1 green, flash. As it entered the battlefield, if your opponent cast a blue and or black spell this turn, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this really helps you if your opponent's on blue-black. Get that card draw, find the next permanent, probably because they just killed one of your things. And then you have a 4/2 on top of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 packs left. Oh my god, guys. These packs with the little slips on them, I am struggling with over here. Hope you're all having fun watching that. Okay, different art, Borborygmos signed. We opened 4 signed ones now? That's lovely, actually. This dinosaur people have been testing out in Modern and Pioneer. It has Convoke, Trample, Ward 2, 6/6. Enters the battlefield 2+1/+1 counters for each creature that convoked it. So this thing can be up to a 20/20 with Trample and Ward 2. Ojitai Master, Taigum, pretty cool. Another rare in the pack. More dinosaurs. You know, we were going back to Ixalan and every format, so we allowed quite a few of those in here. We have, you know, Thyrexians, vampires, dinosaurs, pirates, angels. We have stuff from every recent set, at least. Incubator token. Thyrexian sensor in foil. Invasion of Gobakon. So I've been calling this one Thought Siege as a fun little joke. This one's 1 white. When it enters the battlefield, look at your target opponent's hand, exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it, but the spell costs 2 more to cast. So it kind of, you know, if you're playing an aggressive creature deck, you take something and then like a sweeper or removal spell, and then they're taking a long time to actually recast it. The flip side is at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that attacked this turn when you flip it. That's pretty cool, but it's every turn afterwards. And then sacrifice, creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible till end turn. So when they are finally ready to cast that sweeper, you have a way to stop them from doing it. I was hopeful this was a Ragavan with this frame. It is not. It's just the equipment one that gives them double strike. But we got Terror of Tawaushi, a Thyrexian Org, Death Touch. When it attacks, you may pay black 3. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's Thyrexian in addition to its R-types. Good value on that. We got some battles. We're going to talk about that one last. This one's cool. Strobe Knight, Flying Vigilance. Create a 2/2 white and blue Knight creature token with Vigilance. Activate only if you cast 2 or more spells this turn. Some removal. This is another, we have another version of this card. I don't remember the name of it, but it's just a 1 red sorcery. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Lets you play lands too, which is pretty cool. Surge of Salvation is like almost like a white version of Veil of Summer. White instant, you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Prevent all damage that black and or red sources would deal to creatures you control this turn. This card definitely has a home in Modern, protecting against Thoughtseize, Grief, and Fury. It definitely has a home in Pioneer, but in Standard, I plan to use multiples of these in Green-White Toxic to just protect my board when red-black is such a popular deck to play. Another Chase Uncommon in the set. You open 4 of those, you keep 4 of those, because if you ever play a white deck, there's probably a world where you want some number of those just to protect yourself. Hidetsugu and Kari. Flying, 5/4 for 5. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order, so it just brainstorms. And when it dies, exile the top card of your library. Target opponent loses life equal to its mana value. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. That is some crazy value. More battles. Let's get those commons out of here. Here's a good one. If you're playing the Knights deck, this is probably why you're playing it. Other Knights you control get +1/+1 for a 2-mana 2/2, and has white-blue tap target creature. That taps down flyers, so you're not getting attacked, along with tapping down blockers, so you get through your damage. Good on both ends, and also just being a lord at uncommon that you can almost like kind of see yourself seeing some number of to just get in there. Let's see. Foil Seed of Hope. Galta and Marvin again. This is a fun one. This guy's another reprint, not a new card, but creatures you control power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. You don't want this in +1/+1 counter deck, but if you're making a ton of 1/1s, this is a great way just to make sure the damage gets through. And Elspeth Smite's another good one in this format. You draft these when you see them. Deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. If it would die, exile it. And it's instant, can't go wrong. Has to be instant with that effect, but And Seal of Existence. 1 white, enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. All right, we're down to our last pack. It's time to open that Ragavan. Or a Planeswalker. We haven't actually opened a Planeswalker yet, and there's a few in here. Cool art card for the flip side of that Angel one. Dragon Throne of Tarkir. Equip creature as defender and gains 2 tap. Other creatures you control gain trample and +X until end turn, where X is this creature's power. I like that as a list card. Crazy looking foiling on this Knight Errant of Eos. We talked about that one before, but that is like the Theros level of that. Progender Exarch. XX white. So you can just play this if you know you're going to incubate a bunch as a 1-drop 1/2 with no effect. But when it enters the battlefield, incubate 3x times. So you pay 3 mana for this, you make 1. I cast this for 7 in a pre-release. Made 3 3/3 tokens, and then it just has tap, transform, and incubator token you control. Actually pretty high power level. This is a good one. People are playing this in Pioneer and Standard, but it's also good in other formats. Can't be countered, just red mana sorcery, but it does 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It deals 5 damage if it's white or blue. Got Collective Nightmare, just convoke, target creature gets -3/3 until end turn. Just a value of removal. Okay, this Knight, it's a common, good for that Knights deck we're talking about, or just good value. When Knight of the Coalition enters the battlefield, create another 2/2. So it's 4 mana, makes 2/2 vigilance creatures. This Ninja has Flash, 2 mana, backup 1, so it puts a +1 counter on something. If you put the +1 counter on another creature, though, that creature gains hexproof until end turn, so it protects it from damage. Whew, all right, we're just under an hour. That was a whole set box of the new set. Talked a little bit about Modern, Standard, Pioneer, and just a lot of Limited, because that's what I play a lot of. Again, I'm Kirby from SkullClampMTG, opening this for Retro. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good day, and see you in the next video.